and welcome to the YouTube channel Sarah Living Life. My name is Sarah, and this is a whole YouTube channel that really is designed to help give an accurate representation of what disability is and what life with a disability can be. So today I'm super excited to share with you just an incredible woman. Her name is Nicole Kelly, and she also has a congenital limb difference like myself. And she had competed in Miss Iowa in 2013, and it really sort of blew up on a national level that there was this woman with a disability that was competing in a beauty pageant. So after sort of effects of the Miss America pageantry, she really took a deep dive into disability studies. Why was that something that even mattered, that was in the sort of media outlets? So she went and got a master's degree in journalism, and has since does so much work in advocacy. She's a great speaker. She goes around and sort of consults at different companies and related to disability work. And she is a fantastic podcast partner. So we have been working together for the past 2 years to develop the Disarming Disability Podcast. And that really just covers all of the disability research and just information that we both really wished that we had when we were younger that would help understand a lot more of what our experiences are. So Nicole and I will be sort of discussing the movie The Witches. That's a movie that just came out. It was released 2 weeks ago from Warner Brothers Entertainment Incorporated is the studios that produced it. And we are going to be talking about how the villains in this particular movie have limb differences. And it is very similar to a limb difference that exists. And we're going to talk sort of like, why is this a problem? We're really just gonna deep dive into what that looks like. So I am so excited for you to meet just the most incredible person, Nicole. So all right, let's give her a call. Right, welcome, Nikki. I am so excited that you are here today.
Hello, Sarah T. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a big week. Lots of ups and downs on my end. Lots of like really highs and really lows. But I'm okay. I feel like that makes for a balance, right? They even each other out.
Yes, lots of emotional whiplash, but we're okay. Yes. Even in the middle. We are here to talk about something that is wildly important to us, and that is disability representation in the media. This is something that Nicole and I both care a ton about. It's like, how is disability portrayed on the main screens? And not only how is that portrayed, like there is actual research studies that shows that we learn so much about society, both as children. How do we function in society, right? This is how we learn how to go to the dentist. This is how we learn how to check out at a grocery store. This is how we learn how to share on the playground. Like all of these things. It also is teaching us what is valued in our society. Like, who are the people that we praise? Like, who are the good characters and who are the bad characters? And what do good characters look like? How do they function? How do they behave? And who are the bad characters? What are their goals? How do they function? How do they behave? All of that is being reinforced by our media outlets. And media is books, it's television, it's movies, it's images that we're seeing in our children's books, in on all of the sort of social media
magazines, on
yes.
runways.
Yeah.
So all of that is so important because, again, like that is subconsciously reinforcing to us what we as humans think in this society that we live in. What is good? What is bad? How do we behave? How do we not behave? So we are here today to talk specifically about a movie that has come out recently this summer. It is called The Witches. It is produced by Warner Brothers Entertainment Incorporated, and it is directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Robert Z, we have a bone to pick with you.
So our doll wrote a book in 1983, I believe is the year that the book had come out in. So the story is about, it follows our lead character is a young boy, and he is with his grandmother, and they encounter some witches. These witches are described very poorly And these witches have it out to get children. They don't like children. Apparently children smell very bad. And these witches detest children, and their goal is to rid the world of children. The lead witch is called the Grand High Witch, and she is sort of the ringleader of all of the witches. Apparently they all come together every year for this like witch convention. And at this witch convention, she showcases that she has developed a potion that can turn children into mice. So then the goal is these children get turned into mice, and then it takes place at a hotel where all of this is happening. So then the hotel wants to get rid of the mice. So then the hotel staff will then exterminate the mice that were really children that were turned into mice, and then boom, no more children. So that's sort of the goal. And then our lead character is then trying to not get turned into a mouse, and then sort of prevent these witches from turning all the children into mice, and then prevent the hotel staff from exterminating all of the mice. Let's walk into why the version that came out in 2020, the Robert Z version, is problematic.
It's a problem. Have you heard? It's a problem. Yeah. Well, I think to start, the team for the 2020 version of The Witches really took a lot of artistic license. They truthfully didn't follow what was written in the book. And the interpretation that the 2020 movie chose to take was to actually just kind of remove the two middle fingers and almost make a hand that looked, it kind of looks like it's doing the rock you symbol, right? Would you kind of describe it that way, Sarah?
Yeah.
Sorta. So there's actually 3 digits that actually are there in the 2020 movie. They're made to have, really pointy fingernails and for them to be really like kind of knobby and scabby and scary. The problem with this is that this is a picture of quite literally hundreds of kids that we know. Verbatim, exactly, their hands look exactly like this. And a lot of people have been saying, well, get over it. It's a movie. So what? So what's the big deal? Well, the problem is that these hands, literally themselves, they have made the hands the object that is something to be defeated, something that is evil, something that is bad.
And both the hands and the feet are harmed in the movie, whereas no other part of the witch is harmed. So I feel like it's then further those messages that these are things that are gross, and I don't want them near me, or they're gonna harm me.
So now what we're dealing with in our community is tons of kids either not wanting to go to school because they are going to be bullied when they get there, or actually going to school and being bullied once they arrive in the classroom, which is just, it's not okay. It's not okay for these kids who already are living with stigma because they have something that is different, to now have this stereotype of disability being something that is icky and gross and bad layered on top of them, presented to them on a pretty little shiny Hollywood platter, saying this is truth. Go ahead, now go make fun of your friends at school. Like, that's what's happening, and it's just not okay.
And this movie is the first introduction to limb differences to so many children. Like, there are so many kids that are going to be watching this movie who have never seen a hand difference in their lives before, and that now that's what they think of when they see hand differences. So when they go and see me or you or any of us in a grocery store, they're going to be like,
store, yeah.
Like, why do I feel weird about this? Like, why am I afraid of this hand? They're not going to be like, oh, that hand looks like the one in the witch movie that I saw. Like, because this could be a couple years later, but they are going to be subconsciously afraid of something because they were taught in things like this movie that this hand difference is something to be afraid of. So we have a series of different clips that will help just illustrate that the reason why this was chosen was to make the characters scary, was to make them more grotesque, was to make them more creepy looking. But we're gonna start with a scene that talks more about the specific characteristics. So here or I suppose backing up, Hero was approached by a witch, now that we know that it's a witch that was in the grocery store, who's trying to give Hero candy. Hero was like, this is weird, so I'm not going to do that. And then he was freaking out, told the grandmother, and then the grandmother was asking about that scene specifically. So I suppose that's the pre-context to that. So then now the grandmother decides to, she's like, oh my gosh, it's a witch. We need to leave because the witch is going to come and harm you. The grandmother, her childhood friend, was turned into a chicken by the witches. So she had sort of seen this animal transformation before. So she's getting sort of concerned that now, her son is young, or it's her grandson that's young. So they decide to go to a hotel. So now this clip is being taken at the hotel, and Hero's still trying to sort of learn more about the witch. But again, here we are just repeating that normal women, non-normal women, the idea of having claws, and then having that imagery mirrored in the like rain and thunder with the lightning and then coming out. It's like the child is visibly afraid of this, and these scenes are written to instill fear, and then just further separating the fact that these features are non-human.
Repeatedly, and not only non-human, they are to be feared. They are bad, they are evil. They are coming after you.
And that they're demons in human shape, like all of those words like help just convey that these things are bad.
Because it could have been a witch will behave like this, or a witch will see things, or which will act
this way, but it doesn't say those things. It is like, it's a witch because they're wearing gloves, because they're hiding their hands, and then the witches, and that they have ugly feet that look like their toes got chopped off with an axe. My toes look like they got chopped off. And my hand too, right? So it's like hearing those messages as a kid too. It was like, I need to hide these. Like, people aren't gonna like them. So moving on, we eventually meet the Grand High Witch. She is sort of in the epitome of the conference that's happening. She's showcasing the fact that she has this potion that's going to turn the children into mice. And then this next scene is where she is now turned another child that we see at the hotel into a mouse, and then she turned our main character into a Hero into a mouse. And so we are going to watch that transformation scene, and this scene is really the one where it hit me so hard that I was like, okay, like these are problems, but like this is the one where I'm like, okay, nope, like we have to do something because of this particular scene. And then there's a secondary follow-up scene that sort of mirrors it as well. So if we're looking at the images, reaching into the grate and grabbing the kid out, so that like claws into his head and pulling him out of the grate, like that's scary. And that's like she's interacting with the child with her hands in that manner, holding him down, putting the potion in. So again, we're using the hands to hold the kid down, and then she's holding on to the tail while she's looking for the mallet. Then the initial mouse comes in and bites her finger. So that's again like, okay, so the hands are causing problems, we need to harm the hands. And then where Anne Hathaway, or the Grand High Witch, she then gets the mallet, tries to squish the mouse, but instead squishes her hand. Like, that's a creative decision. Like, we're gonna squish her hand, but in the fact that we're squishing her hand, now that's two consecutive images right after each other that is showing that it's an evil thing. Her then hands extend into the air vent. So it was the point where they were extending into the air vent, and that is not in the original book. The images, like these hands are coming down, these claw things that we already know we're primed to be afraid of, and then the like jagged movements of it, right? Further stigmatizing people with movement disorders and disabilities. And then for the third time in this scene, at the end of it, she puts her fingers into the air vent, and then they get chopped off and she starts bleeding. And then that's how she's being defeated in that moment. So the mice are able to get away and carry on with the story, while now then she has to go and recover. So that's 3 moments where with the specific hands are being impacted. This could have been written to have a hand difference, and that could be like a really cool, like bad cool witch that has like a cool like secret thing that she gets to do that like is an advantage. So in review of this movie, both Nicole and I were really upset about how things had happened, and we kept thinking we have to create things in order to have like real positive change. So we have put together 3 separate resources. So the 3 separate resources we made, the first is a petition, which is asking Warner Brothers Studios or Warner Brothers Entertainment Incorporated, like hire disabled actors, hire disabled story writers, have disability consultants on your film, so stuff like this doesn't happen. And that those are very real things that can change. And from there's tons of research that we've put together. There's links to the different articles that we've talked about, just to help showcase like why this is a problem, and knowing that this isn't about the witches. Like, this isn't just me mad about the witches. This has to change for every other production that comes forward. Like, and then with that, for people who have seen the witches, or maybe have kids who have seen the witches, or maybe don't know anybody that's within the limb different community, or do know somebody that's in the limb different community, we have developed a set of guiding questions that are used specifically with the witches, but the questions are open enough that they can be used to any type of portrayal of a villain, and looking at this specifically within childhood type stories that they can really piece together. And villains are villains because of the actions that they create, not because of the way that their body looks.
There. And then the final component of the resources that we made, take it away.
Yeah, we decided, because Sarah and I's passion project, as far as, as Sarah mentioned below, we have to create content in order to create change, right? What is the positive content that we are putting out into the world? So Sarah and I have a podcast together, Disarming Disability, where we are interviewing disability experts who are experts within kind of specific fields of disability, right? So these are people who are leaders of disability organizations. These are professors. These are people who have spent years and years, really studying, learning, and daily doing the work that is disability. And so we decided that because we have this podcast platform, we would love to share people's voices. So we're collecting audio, and if people want to go in and share 2 to 3 minutes of what their story is, we would love to share that and release an episode of people's voices, sharing your story and talking about you. And that's also on our resource page, which will be linked down below, but I'll say it for you too. It is Disarming Disability /The Witches. Disarming Disability /The Witches. You can find all 3 of those very actionable resources, which takes you out of a space of just kind of complaining and feeling like you're not doing something that is making any change, into a spot where you can feel like you're actually doing something actionable for some hopeful change, right?
So let's make sure that future film productions have the accurate representation and accurate portrayal of disability in them. So this is a call to action. That's a very easy thing for a production company to do. And there's plenty of well-qualified people who have studied disability studies and who have lived with disability that can be the real voices to help create the context as to why things would be well received or not be well received, or that things are accurately or inaccurately portraying disability.
Yeah, I think these are some 3 good starting actions to get us kind of rolling in a forward direction.
Yes.
So click on that link below. Do those 3 actionable items.
Let's make real change happen, friends. Yay!